check the storm height on it,
Sure.
but that shear marker itself, and let's pull that down a little bit so we can see that shear marker right in the middle of the screen. These are the communities that are in the path of the storm right now, and those storms, you see that shear marker right there to the west of Unionville. That's going to rapidly move to the north and east. Eric, if you'll hit that red skit, that's going to give us some info on that storm. That's going to tell us a little more about the height, the location of it, and a little more on the intensity. Do you see that red line that's right there to the north and east of Edith?
Yeah.
See that red line? Hit that red line, and we should get a new info box coming up. You're going to need to hit the circle at the bottom end of that arrow. So right there, pop that up. There we go. Can you move that info box up just a little bit above so it comes above? So here's what we're looking at. Marvin, can you put that behind me, or Jayla? It's moving to the northeast at 54 miles per hour, okay? So we're seeing that move northeast, 54 miles per hour. The height of the storm is about 23,000 feet. That's high enough for it to really start to tap into some cold air coming in behind it and draw it down. One of the things we have in advance of this, and Eric, you and I were talking about this, that strong southerly flow in advance, then this whole system is moving off to the east. That's what's allowing this to spin right now. And we're seeing some pretty significant shear. This, I do believe, is the shear swath. What are we
Correct.
seeing with
it's a shear rate.
Let's see, that's the shear rate.
Yep.
What does the shear swath on this look like? That's going to give us that whole track. Check that out. That is impressive indeed. Anything on there catching your eye, Eric?
Just the whole entire storm system, or this given tornado warning, just the general cell itself. It is scooting to the northeast here. Dyersburg's a place that you certainly have to keep an eye on here, because you are under that tornado warning right now, and this is headed towards your general direction. Don't want to forget about the other two warnings that we have here, even though the one that is further to the north, it certainly is catching our eye right now. And you see those areas that are within the red and black, how they're going back and forth and essentially blinking. Those are the ones that have the tornado warnings around right now. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to take a little bit closer of a look right now and go from the south to the north. So if we start heading a little bit further to the south here, a little bit closer into Lee, St. Francis, and over into Cross County as well as Crittenden County, that given cell, it doesn't necessarily have quite the look per se that other ones do. I wouldn't be surprised if we do have some small hail at least embedded here just to the north of Mariana. As far as what we have here with our technology at Action News 5, it's detecting that we could have some quarter-size hail there. The big thing though is the velocity and the winds. Do we have those winds intersecting each other and showing that typical and classic sort of green-blue, or the green-red rather, that indicates that spin that's in the air? Unfortunately, at least for that cell that's further to the south, doesn't have that. The one that does include parts of Crittenden County and over into northern portions of Shelby County. This tornado warning here, it looks a little less organized, but this is also moving closer to the actual radar site that is in Millington right now. So at times, that can maybe not necessarily give us the best picture here, but fortunately we can kind of look into the actual storm itself, and for the time being, this one looks like it has a little bit of hail just and near that of Turl. The BTI on this is 3.6, and once you start seeing that number approach, say 6, that's when the potential tornado is more likely to be on the ground than if it was a lower number here. So at 3.6 is a good thing to see. Of course, we want that to be 0, but it's still something we are keeping an eye on. A little further to the north now, back to that main cell. That one is still looking pretty strong here. That is just to the south of Dyersburg. Yet again, if you're into Dyersburg, we want to make sure you get into that safe place right now. Put as many walls between yourself and the outside world. Put a blanket over your head, a towel, a pillow, a helmet, something like that. So this way, if debris does fall, at least you have something to be able to protect your head. Get inside of an interior closet, as this is still looking pretty strong here as far as this given cell that's moving itself from Lauderdale County into Dyer County. And it does include Dyersburg specifically right now as far as the city of Dyersburg is concerned. If you know anybody that's traveling north on Highway 51, moving from Ripley closer to Dyersburg, or anybody that's maybe moving across the Tennessee River towards Dyersburg, that is a tornadic or potential tornado that could be on the ground here, and it is something we're keeping an eye on. So Ron, as far as the BTI goes on this, we were just talking about that here momentarily. Once that number does start to climb into the 6s, I know that's when that starts to grab your attention.
Where are we on that right now, Eric? What's the BTI on that? Do we?
So from 6.6 down to 2.2, so there's good news within that.
So at 2.2, that thing's moving though, 72-mile-an-hour winds, or 72 miles per hour as it's moving off to the northeast.
Yep.
So look, there's going to be some wind damage associated with this as well. And that was one of our concerns earlier with this system. Let me back up and show you the big picture, all right? I'm going to put this into motion because this whole line is making a rapid push to the east-northeast. And look at the lightning within this. Let me give you an idea of how many lightning strikes, and I'll track it from right around here up until just till we get to around just south of the Kentucky border. So about 282 lightning strikes with that. So there is the potential for power outages just because of the lightning itself. Then we come in and we take a look at the wind associated with this. That's velocity. And let me show you how things are playing out on that. We've got a lot of activity, that stronger wind pushing off to the east. But right now we are looking at three tornado warnings that we have active. This is for St. Francis and Lee counties. That's going to go until 6:15. Then we've got Crittenden, Shelby, Tipton County. That's going to go until 6:30. Then we're looking at the one for Dyer, Crockett, and a northeast corner of Lauderdale County. That too goes until, was that 6:30, Eric? I do believe. Let me hit the info on that, because that tornado warning, that too is going to go until 6:30 this evening. Now, I'm going to put a line or a track on this whole line because I want to give everybody a first alert on where this is going and who it's going to impact. So we're going to track it, the whole line, all right? You're going to see a whole bunch of communities come up into play on this, but I just want to give you an idea of where it's going. So 624, Dyersburg, that line's coming in your way. You can expect damaging wind along the leading edge, very heavy rain, maybe some hail, and additional spin-ups along it as well. Then you get into Memphis at about 6:38. That's when we'll get hit with that main line. Hernando, 7:01. Then Jackson, 7:38. Potts Camp, yeah, northern Mississippi in play here too, and it's going to be a longer night for North Mississippi. 8:22, this line of storms will be moving in. Then we get to Ripley at about 8:48. Should be right around Corinth at 9:10. And then Springfield at 9:35. Here's what you need to know, though. This whole system is going to be out of here right around 11 o'clock tonight. So from now until about 11 o'clock, I want everyone to stay weather aware. Make sure you have a storm safety plan for you and your family, because this is a potent line moving in our direction. Now I'm going to zoom in just a little tighter, and I want to take a look at individual cells for the potential for any rotation, all right? So let's bring up the scope and see. We're looking at the radar view itself. I don't see a really definitive inflow notch. There's a little something right there, but as we put the scope on this, let's see if we can detect anything, maybe just to the south of Turl. Looks like there may be a little something. I'm going to clear that off and then do it again. Here we go. I want to make that scope just a little bigger. I'm not sure it's going to let me do that. So, tell you what, Eric, you know what? You're going to have a better view on it. You want to take it over from here?
Sure, I got you, Ron. Worthwhile to point out that the National Weather Service is canceling the tornado warning, the one that's the furthest south of the three. So there is good news if you are over into Lee, St. Francis, or the far southern portion of Crittenden County. While the actual box itself, you always hear meteorologists talk here about just polygons and just tornado warnings, things of that nature. It appears that they are going to drop that tornado warning that does include Mariana, as well as just the far eastern portion of Arkansas here, yet again for Lee, St. Francis, and Crittenden County. But with that said, going back to the storm that Ron was talking about here, that is in Crittenden County and is starting to scoot itself into the far southern portion of Mississippi County. That given cell, it is moving itself to the east-northeast here at about 49 miles per hour, and it still has a pretty tall cloud top to it too at about 23,000 feet. So let's see if we could take that full here and exactly see what we have going on for that potential of hail across this portion of the Mid-South just to the east of Turl. Looks like we have at least, I'd say, quarter-sized hail that is around in the sky right now, and this is headed towards Millington. It is headed to the northern portion of Shelby County. So there is something to point out with that. Good news, we just got a report here that there's no reported damage over into Dyer County, but this given storm is also in the process of moving through Dyer County, so that is something we will keep an eye on here. We were just talking about the BTI here, and when that number starts to get to 6, that's when we start to really take focus of that given cell. And the good news is this is down to a 4.8. With that noted, A 4.8 still isn't that far off from a 6, and that is that's still at least some turbulence that is within the air. There's still that spin that is in the air, and the storm that is in Dyer County right now, that is scooting itself to the northeast. It is racing to the northeast at 72 miles per hour. As far as, do we have any sort of new updates with that? Sirens going off. Just looking here at Action News 5, it does look like we have some lightning off in the distance that's moving itself closer, which makes sense because that main line of storms is moving itself from the west to the east here. And these are racing to the east and northeast at about 50 miles per hour as far as the forward speed goes. Not even as far as the actual sustained winds, but just a forward speed. So these are starting to cruise to the east here rather quickly. Even if you don't have a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning in your given area, it is a wise idea to make sure you just take shelter and avoid any sort of windows. And Ron, obviously having 3 tornado warnings, all these popping up here within the span of about 5 minutes. It went from 0 to 100 pretty quick.
Yeah, and let me explain what's going on here. We call this a quasi-linear convective system, all right? It's a basically convoluted word for a line of thunderstorms. Oftentimes, you can get little spin-ups within the line itself as it's moving on through. You've got air coming in from the south, and this whole thing is moving to the north or to the east, and as it does, within the line itself, you can get a little spin up, and I think that's what we're seeing here. It's very brief, oftentimes radar indicated, not even touching the ground, simply because the movement of the storm itself is so rapid and to the east, but the National Weather Service radar picking up on the potential for a little rotation within that. So, tell you what, let's take a closer look now. Let's go back and just analyze each and every cell. By the way, we're getting some pretty impressive rainfall amounts with this also, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment. But I'm going to focus in on this cell. Whoops, let me clear that off. It's been a little while since we've had severe weather. As a matter of fact, it's been about 6 months since we've seen anything in the way of significant strong to severe storms coming through the area. But right now, as we take a close look at this, let's talk lightning first. Within this little box polygon right here, we got about 52 strikes of lightning. I'm looking for debris signatures. In other words, whenever the storm starts to rotate, it will oftentimes take debris, lift it into the atmosphere. We would see a blue ball of sorts. Well, I don't see anything like that. There is a little bit of blue right there on the leading edge, and that's likely the wind coming through, lifting leaves, maybe even some small limbs into the air, and the radar picking up on that. But I don't see a significant debris signature. Now, I also want to go back to the scope. Let's take a look one more time and see if we see anything in here, and I just don't. We're looking at the velocity, the wind speed, and direction. It is a rapid moving line to the east, and really I think what we're dealing with is just straight line wind associated with that. However, we still have to watch it closely because we do have the tornado warning that still remains. This is going to go now until 6:15, so there you have it. Crittenden, Lee, St. Francis, and Tunica. Let's update the track on that. Then I'm moving north into Memphis and Shelby County. So here you go. Folks in Mariana, 613, 624 into Cody, Brickey, 628. Then it's going to move into Kokomo right around 632, Council 636. We'll see that then move into Hughes at 640, 647 into Heth, and Horseshoe Lake. That's coming your way, 6:50 is the time. Know the safest place to go in your home and get there now. Don't wait until this line gets to you. Go now. Now, let's move north. Let's check out the one in Shelby County. Let's see if we're seeing anything different in this. We'll start off with a look at the lightning. Here we go. And look, much of northern Shelby County not even getting rain right now. There are 31 strikes of lightning. By the way, those that are getting rain, it's coming down pretty heavy just to the west of the Mississippi River. Look at this. We're getting rainfall rates. Whoops. It's not giving me the rainfall rate on that because it's picking up on the warning ahead of time. Unfortunately, I can't do it right now, but because I've got warnings overlapping. But right now, you can see where the heavier precipitation is coming into play, those areas right there. So let's go back to the next rad view. Let's take a closer look at what we're seeing here. I do want to check out the scope. Let's see if we detect any rotation. Eric, if you see anything, feel free to break in and let me know. I don't see, and look, this little area right here, Check that out. That is likely straight line wind that's just about to come across the Mississippi River. I want to track that just to give you an idea of where that wind is likely going to move to within the next few minutes. So strong winds. I'm tracking the strong wind right there on the leading edge. Marion 612. You're going to get a sudden gust of wind. Heavy rain will follow. A lot of thunder and lightning. Drummond 618, 625 into Burleson. We'll see it get into Millington at 629. Then Covington 637. It's going to move into Rosemark at 640. Tabernacle 646. And then Gainesville 652. Not tracking a tornado. I'm tracking straight line wind with this right here. Looks like we also may have, see that little area right there? Looks like that may be a wet microburst. And what's happening is there's a lot of cold air in the upper levels of the atmosphere. It's warm at the surface, but that cold air is heavy and it sinks, it falls. You can get, and then as that wind hits the ground, it just spreads out and can create damage, taking down trees, power lines, power poles. So we could be dealing with power outages here in a bit. Kelly Cook is standing by. I'm going to check in with her in a moment to find out if we have any power outages. But it looks like we've got a little wet microburst right there. We call it a wet microburst because it's raining very heavy. So that rain that's coming down also bringing that column of air down to the surface with it, and that can create damage. So there's almost a 1-2 punch here with the straight line wind right here about to enter northern Shelby County. Shelby Forest, you're in the path of this, and then just behind it, a wet microburst coming in. So a lot going on just within that cell itself. But to put another track on it, yeah, what do you got, Eric?
So, Ron, worthwhile to kind of point out, too, just kind of looking at some different things from the National Weather Service. It appears that cell that's the furthest to the north here, they are going to turn around and actually cancel that warning that does include portions of Gibson as well as Dyer County. So there's obviously some great news within that here. And it seems like the National Weather Service are starting to trim back some of those warnings as well. So
this is the storm you're talking about, right there that's in Dyer, Crockett, and Gibson County. So no longer any rotation. You've got a better view on it. Let's check out what you've got.
Come on, let's jump over here. So, you know, the good thing about this given storm here, as I've been talking about here, we've been looking at that BTI, or the Barron Tornado Index. That's the fancy word for it. And that number got as large as about 6.6 here. Fortunately, it's back down to about 4.8. With that said, it's been kind of fluctuating itself back and forth. It had been a lower 4. Now it's back up to a 4.8 here. But as noted, National Weather Service kind of noting that they anticipate dropping this given warning here. And I believe that one expires here at 6:30. So we still have about 17 minutes worth of that warning to go here, as we are now at 6:13, or almost 6:14 for that matter here. And that cell is moving to the northeast at about 60 miles per hour. So if you don't even factor in the actual winds that are within the storm, just the forward movement within itself, it is cruising to the northeast here at about 59 to 60 miles per hour. So that is an extremely just forward, fast-moving storm here. A little bit further to the south here, we've been keeping an eye on some of those storms that have been tornado warned. They did include portions of Shelby County over into Tipton County as well, among a few others. Still do have that warning, and it does include portions of Munford, just the southwest corner of Tipton County, and the far eastern, southeastern corner of Mississippi County. So that is certainly a first alert there. You want to make sure you put yourself into the interior of your house. Put as many walls between yourself and the outside world. Put that blanket over your head, so this way it gives you a little bit of protection in case something does fall on you. A helmet would be ideal here, or a pillow at the least, so this way you can kind of prevent the any sort of objects from hitting you in the head here. But that given cell, it still is packing, it's certainly packing a lot of rain, and it certainly has quite a bit of lightning embedded within it here. As to what we have for the tornado index there, that's at a 4.2 now, so that's actually ramped itself up ever so slightly. It does look like the strongest portion of that cell that is over into Tipton County. It is moving itself kind of parallel to the Mississippi River here and just to the west of Highway 51. But you don't want to be traveling either north or south on Highway 51 right now from pretty much Memphis all the way through Dyersburg because of the heaviness of the rain and obviously the tornado warnings that continue to be around these given cells as well. So there's some good news there. And what I mean by good news is now we're down to 2 tornado warnings. You still have the one that's into portions of Dyer and Crockett County, and then that secondary one that is into the northwestern corner of Shelby County. It also does include portions of Mississippi County and into Tipton County. So we're down to 2 tornado warnings that are still in play here across the Mid-South. And I do want to note too that we still have a few severe thunderstorm warnings that are in play too. I just like kind of taking those severe thunderstorm warnings off, because once you start getting a bunch of those different warnings and advisories on there, it can get pretty challenging to see those. So,
It also looks like they tightened up that polygon for Shelby County and Tipton County. Let's go back to the first alert Doppler radar. So it extended back into Crittenden County earlier. Let me check the new info on this. Let's see what we've got going here. You know what? I don't think I'm in play. Hold on. Let me hit one button. That should take me. There we go. I want to zoom into this little area. Now, we're still under a tornado warning for just a small portion of northern Shelby County. Shelby Forester included in this, Millington as well, but I do believe Crittenden County has now been removed. However, we're not going to let our guard down because we're friends in Tipton County, especially into Covington. This is coming your way, all right? So let's take a look, first of all, at the info on the tornado warning itself and just see if anything has been eliminated from that. So the tornado warning now for Mississippi, Shelby, and Tipton County. So yeah, a small portion of Mississippi County included in this. As we take a look at the track of the storm, let me give you an updated view on that. We're going to see that, and it's tough to find where that rotation may be. Tell you what, let me do this before I put a track. I just want to make sure that I'm tracking it properly. Maybe a little rotation right there. Eric, do you see that? It looks like it's right there on the Tipton-Shelby County line.
I agree. Kind of the intersection, really, Tipton, Shelby, and Mississippi counties where those all meet right along the Mississippi River.
Let me go back. Come back to me.
Yeah, go for
Eric. Or Jayla, come back to me. Here we go. Let's put a track on that. I want to take that up to Covington. Let's get Covington in there. Covington, this storm's going to come your way at 6:57. 6:57, here we are right now, 6:17. You've got time to make your plans, get to your safe place, but know that this storm, this cell itself is coming your way. But where the area of rotation is right now, Dixonville, that's going to be there about 6:32. We'll see it move into Drummond's at 6:36, 6:40 into Randolph, Atoka, 6:44, Brighton, 6:49. Then it moves into Bride at 6:54, Covington, as we mentioned, 6:57. Tabernacle, 7:01. So that is the active tornado warning we have in place right now, and that is going to remain. Let's see if they've changed anything on the way of timing with this. That'll go until 6:30 this evening. But look, we've now got a severe thunderstorm warning for a good portion of Shelby County. Under a severe thunderstorm warning, it's not even raining. It's matter. Jalen, can you pop up a high five camera? Do we have one of our Best Care Home Services cameras? Give me Midtown. Yeah, let's take a look at Midtown quickly. I want to show you what we're seeing here in the city, because look, a lot of folks may be out and about right now, but you need to get to a safe place because the storm is coming. And look at that lightning. That is absolutely impressive lightning display there in the distance. So that whole line's coming our way. Let me go back and put a track on it. Then, Eric, I'm going to come to you for any other characteristics. So, Jayla, if you'll take me back now to the radar, let me clear this off. And Jayla's our director this evening, doing a great job. Thank you, because I'm moving quickly here. But I'm going to track this line, all right? So here we go. Yo, you got something new?
Yeah, so worthwhile to note, the National Weather Service saying that they're going to let that Dyersburg tornado warning expire on time here, and I believe that was a 6:30 warning. So while we still have 10 minutes or 11 minutes left in that warning here, there is at least good news within that. But that line that is starting to move itself a little bit closer to Shelby County, I think you're about to track that out here. It certainly has quite the punch to it, a lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain. Certainly not a wise idea to be headed out as of this time into either West Memphis, take your pick, all around the 240 loop.
Yeah, let's take a look. Let's put a track on it. Here we go. And I'm going to track it from northwestern Shelby County all the way down, and then we're going to move it off to the east. It's moving at about 45 miles per hour. With that in mind, it's going to get into West Memphis, 627, Mound City, 629. We'll see that then get into Millington at 640. Now, I'm not tracking tornadic activity or a rotation. I'm tracking this line of heavy rain and thunderstorm activity to give folks an idea of the thunderstorm potential coming your way. So Millington 640, it'll get into Memphis proper, and that's inside the 240 loop by about 648, but it's going to be really getting into the downtown area probably about 645 or so. Then South Haven, 6:58, 7:05, it will move into Germantown. Then we're going to see it go into Fisherville at 7:13, Collierville at about 7:23. As I take a look at the scope, I want to see if there's anything, again, in the way of significant rotation with this. I don't see it right now, but wow, I see a lot of wind. I see a lot of strong wind. Now we can take a look at spectrum width. Spectrum width shows us basically instability within the atmosphere. If you've ever been in an airplane and flying, you may get a little bumpy from time to time. That's because warm air is rising, cold air is sinking. As a plane flies through that, it can get really bumpy. So we're looking right around the mid-levels of the atmosphere, but some of this can translate down to the surface. But you can see where the greater potential for turbulence is right now, and really right there along that leading edge. And let me zoom out and take a look at the whole view, because we got some significant turbulence. There's two areas that I want to watch closely. All right, I'm going to zoom in first to this one for strong. Well, it went way too far out. That happens with technology sometimes. But look at this area right here. New radar scope coming into play, or new radar update coming into play. You see this area right here? Strong wind. That's making its way right now through Dyer County and Lauderdale County. So that's coming through Ripley, Tennessee. Then we've got another area that's just down to the south of that. You can see that area in orange. That's what we're looking for, the orange, the red. Behind it, there's a lot of warm and cold air sinking right now and trying to figure out, that's that colder air coming in. But it's on that leading edge that we're seeing more turbulence that's making its way on through Phillips County, and that's about to come into Tunica and Coahoma counties. But right now, as we go back, take a look at the big picture, we got a lot of activity. Eric, what are you watching?
So National Weather Service, they just issued now a severe thunderstorm warning that includes some of our northern counties right now. It does include portions of Tipton as well as into Haywood, Crockett County. So if you haven't seen those showers and storms quite yet, just to the north of I-40 and just to the east of Highway 51, Ron, I think that's the area to keep an eye on. That is warned for the potential of 60-mile-per-hour winds and 1-inch hail. And Ron, I think you'll agree with this. The wind is certainly the bigger threat out of this, not necessarily the hail. Yes, you might get a little bit of change-sized hail, as I like to call it here, a couple pennies, things like that. But those strong winds that are starting to really cross over the Mississippi River at this point, that is certainly the thing that we are keeping an eye on. Worthwhile to note, too, we still do have those 2 tornado warnings that are in place here across the Mid-South. They do include Dyer County, but as noted, that is expected to expire here in the matter of about 6.5 minutes at 6:30, the time now being 6:23 on this Saturday evening. And the good news is we've been talking about that tornado index number. It had been as high as the mid-6s. Now it's down to about a 2.4. So it looks like that potential of a tornado is definitely starting to decrease here, Ron. So there's good news. I do want to point out, though, a little bit further to the south here into the far western corner of Tipton County, it does seem like the hail intensity has picked up there. That Barry number still at about a 4.2 here, or the tornado index number that's at about a 4 here. But the potential for us to see some hail, notice the numbers here. This has hail just in general here at about an 80% rate, and that severe hail at about a 70% rate. When we're talking about those hail numbers there, as far as severe hail goes, we're talking about the size of a quarter here. If you have a quarter fall from the sky, it's obviously a pretty big piece of metal that is going to crash. And if it's in the form of hail, that's going to result in some damage. So that's where that severe hail comes from, because in order to have a severe thunderstorm warning, you need either 58+ mile-per-hour winds or hail the size of a quarter or greater. Of course, you can have the combination of both those things here. And it looks like National Weather Service now they're expiring a tornado warning. Ron, I'm not 100%.
Going to let you catch up on that. I want to check in with Kelly Cook right now because power is going to be an issue. Eric, you were talking about the strong wind coming into play, and as that starts to make its way across the Mississippi River, I think a lot of folks are going to start losing power. Kelly, you told me there's already a few thousand people without. What have you got for us?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When we first started checking these outages, we were right around 800 or so. That's now jumped up quite a bit. Let's take a look at this MLGW power outage map, what we have for you right now. You can see there, we are right at about 3,052 customers, 36 outages, people who are out power right now. Take a look at that orange, little red there. Our friends there in Fraser in the Whitehaven area along East Shelby Drive. Some of you are already dealing with power outages. I can tell you just a few minutes ago I was checking, that number was over 4,000. So quite a few did get their power turned back on. But please be aware with these high winds and lightning, as Ron and Eric have been telling us all evening long, we are keeping a close eye of power outages. And something else, Ron, of course, is our airport. I did take a look at the Memphis International Airport. A lot of fluctuation with time. Some people coming in a little bit earlier, pushing it back quite a bit. So if you've got friends or family coming into Memphis or you've got a flight for tonight, please check. I'm sure you are, because the weather is changing that as well. But right now, Ron, Eric, we've got about 3,000 without power. We've got quite a few hours to go. Let's turn it back over to you.
Yeah, so Kev, well, go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, okay, let me take a look at the big picture. I want to bring you up to speed on what's happening right now. So we still have 2 tornado warnings that are officially in effect, but the National Weather Service is going to let this one in Dyer and Gibson County expire in 4 minutes. It's going to go until 6:30. I think we're going to see the one that's working its way through Tipton County. That too will likely be allowed to expire. We're not seeing anything in the way of significant rotation. This is becoming more of a straight line wind event, I do believe. And look, I'd rather have neither one of the options is good, but the straight line wind a little better than tornado. Still going to the potential for damage, power outages there, but you get that violently rotating wind speed and that can create some big problems. But we still have several warnings that are working their way through the area. This whole line is moving off to the east and it will impact the entire Action News 5 coverage area, especially as it starts to move into West Tennessee and northern Mississippi. Look, we had temperatures in the mid-70s from Tunica down to Clarksdale today, even near Panola County, temperatures right around the low to mid-70s. So it got warm. There's a lot of instability. There's a lot of moisture at the surface. There's fuel for this line to work with. I will tell you this, I think things are starting to look a little better for our viewers back into eastern Arkansas, especially north of the 40 corridor. Poinsett County, I think your severe weather threat is over. Not going to completely let our guard down, but you're in much better shape right now. And I think we're in a little better shape, especially for much of Cross County, because that lightning's starting to move now. So I think this is going to turn into a rainmaker from Craighead to Poinsett down to Cross County, St. Francis County. It's almost out of there, but we're going to watch areas now to the east, and that's where that heavy rain is flowing. Once that main line moves through, then we're talking about just the potential for rainfall to continue into the evening. But before I hand it off to Eric, I want to take a look at this little area right here. That's where we still have the tornado warning. You were talking about hail just a moment ago. Let's take a little slice of these storms and see what we've got here. Whoops, let me go back into the 3D slice mode. Unfortunately, it's not working for me right now.
Hey, Ron, I'll bail you out a little bit while you're kind of messing with that. So National Weather Service, of course, interacting with different people there. There was a spotter that did actually indicate that there was golf ball-sized hail that occurred near Richardson Landing over in Tipton County. That's pretty close to the Mississippi River over here in the far western portion of Tipton County. So not the best of situations here into the western side of Tipton County. Certainly something that we are keeping an eye on here. But as Ron did note, this is certainly more, it seems like, of a wind threat now. And really heavy rain. And the good news is, especially if you are a little bit further to the west here, if you are into portions of Poinsett County, into far western portions of Cross County, far western portions of St. Francis County, you're looking a lot better than some of the areas that are to the east. Excuse me. Now, I know some areas haven't necessarily seen as much rain here, especially into northern Mississippi. And I do believe that the line is a little bit stronger to the north than necessarily to the south if you were to have I-40 as that dividing line here. With that noted, though, throughout all of Shelby County, we're knocking on the door of seeing some pretty heavy rain that is about to engulf us here. As to what we still have in place for those severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings, and keep in mind, a lot of these tornado warnings, they are set to expire here at 6:30, which will be occurring here in the matter of about 10 seconds or so. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that those polygons or those red boxes that are flashing there, that those are going to be able to dissolve and go away here, because we don't want obviously any sort of tornado warnings in place here across the Mid-South, and that is something we are keeping an eye on. But the overall tornado threat looks like it has diminished a little bit. With that said, we still have some pretty strong straight line winds that are moving across the Mid-South right now and are moving west of the Mississippi, or moving from the west to the east across the Mississippi River right now. Now, the unfortunate thing is that we have going on right now is that our radar site, it is out of Millington, Tennessee. And since those storms are starting to approach that radar site, it results in the scans that come out of the radar to maybe not necessarily be quite as good as when these storms are moving towards and then past that radar site here. With that said, though, we do officially not have any tornado warnings here across the Mid-South, but there still are 2 severe thunderstorm warnings that are in play for a few different counties here across the region, including Tipton, as well as Lauderdale, Haywood, Crockett, and even off to the east, including Madison and Gibson counties. That given warning is in place. I believe it's until 7 o'clock. Double check it here. That is until 7 o'clock this evening, so that is certainly a stronger one that we have. And then the one that's a little bit further to the south here does include Crittenden County as well as Shelby County, including downtown Memphis, as well as everybody within 240 here. So if you know anybody that's traveling around Memphis right now along 240, good idea to give them a first alert here and make sure that they do head on in, because we are going to see some very heavy rain at the absolute least out of this, and some pretty strong winds that are embedded within some of these showers and storms here across the Mid-South. Time now is 6:31 on this Saturday evening, and Chief Meteorologist Ron Childers, he's giving me the thumbs up that he's ready to get back in action here. So, Ron, it's obviously always a good thing whenever we can get rid of as many of these warnings as possible here. Yeah. And now we're down to those 2 severe thunderstorm warnings, but it does include that big population center that is throughout Shelby County and for Memphis.
And look, we're going to stay with you for a while here because this is a pretty potent line that's coming on through. So just plan on, tracking storms with us for a little while, all right? Because that line itself, I have the feeling it has the potential to really create some power outages. Remember, we got warm, we got humid today. If you spent any time outdoors this afternoon, it was very muggy. The early morning rain came through, then the sun popped out this afternoon. We saw a 17-degree temperature increase in a matter of 20 minutes. We went from the mid-50s this afternoon into the lower 70s, just like that. We were really right around the upper range of the 50s. It got warm, it got muggy quickly, and now this is what we're dealing with as a result. You see the active warnings we have in place. Let me run through them one more time, give you an idea of what we're looking at. No active tornado warnings, good news, but severe thunderstorm warnings can produce a tornado with little to no warning. So I still want you to stay weather aware. We're going to ride this out because we still got a little while to go before it moves out of the area. 7 o'clock, Crockett, Haywood, Lauderdale, Tipton County, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning until 7 p.m. Shelby County under a severe thunderstorm warning, along with Lee, Crittenden, St. Francis County, that's going to go until 7 o'clock tonight. And I think it's going to be right around 8 o'clock before we likely get this through the city of Memphis and Shelby County, and then it moves on off to the east. But right now, as we take a look at this line as it's pushing on through, just check out the activity associated with this. You can really see where things started to heat up today, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens as we get into northern Mississippi. A lot of warm air there, and as this portion of the storm starts to cross the Mississippi River, we could see some larger issues continuing with that. Now, I also want to remind you, still got a tornado watch. That's in effect until 10 o'clock tonight for virtually the entire coverage area. Mississippi, Poinsett County, you're not included in that. Alcorn County, you're not included in it. But all the other counties in the Action News 5 coverage area, mainly eastern Arkansas, south of 40, Wynn, I think you're in good shape right now. But northern Mississippi still under that watch, meaning that conditions are favorable for tornadic activity. And that's going to be the case in West Tennessee as well. So we got to continue to watch this very closely. The good news is the sun has set tonight. So with that, that's going to help to stabilize the atmosphere a little bit. But there's still a lot of instability that is in this area. And as it continues to move through, it's going to create some big problems, or have the potential to create some big problems. Let's put some tracks on these and show you where it's going. I'm going to run through some communities quickly. Tell you what, we're going to track Shelby County first of all, and then I'm just going to make a move north, and then we'll come back south. Let's track this, bring in folks in Fayette County into this. So Overton, 639. It'll get into Millington, 641. That's that main line. You can expect very heavy rain, sudden gust of wind, and maybe some small hail along the leading edge of it. Then Memphis, 653. East Memphis, 657. Lakeland, 704. It's going to come into Germantown at 709. 718 into Fisherville. Oakland at 7:25. So that's for this portion of the storm under the severe thunderstorm warning right now. And again, that warning in place. Did they extend that out just a little bit? I think that's going to go until 7 o'clock. Now 7:15. So that goes until 7:15. DeSoto, Fayette, Marshall, and Shelby County. Now let's move to the north just a little bit and let me track this portion of the storm as we go on this severe thunderstorm warning, which, by the way, is going to remain until 7 o'clock this evening. But putting a track on that main line, let's see. Let me clear this activity off of here, and then let me get this off, and then we'll put a track on here and show you what we're looking at. So I'm going to track this from, I tell you what, let's just take it from Dyer County all the way down to Tipton County. Move it off to the east. Brighton, 638, that will move in, or 639, excuse me. Maury City, 655. Then we're going to see that get into Dyer at 656. Brownsville, 712. Dresden, 714, 726 into Humboldt, and then 735 into McKenzie. Right around 746, it should move into Paris, Tennessee, just outside the Action News 5 coverage area. By the way, these areas behind much of Mississippi County, I think you're in good shape. You're going to deal with rain for the rest of the night, or at least until about 10 or so before that finally moves on out. But your severe weather threat, I do believe, is gone. However, folks that are to the east of that area, you're still under the threat for more strong to severe storms. Now, let me pan down south. Let's go down to northern Mississippi. Let's check out this activity that's about to come into DeSoto County, Tipton, or Tunica County. And I'm going to go DeSoto to Tunica first. We'll track that off to the east. So Tunica, 643. Then Whitehaven, 651. It'll move into South Haven at 654. Hernando, 705. Then Olive Branch at 710. We'll see it get into Collierville right around 718. Then 727 into Byhalia. Moscow, that's coming your way at 739. So that's that portion of the storm. I'm going to go a little farther south because I want to check out our friends down in Coahoma County. Let's check it out. Put a track on this portion of the storm. Whoops, I'm going to clear that off. I'm going to clear that out. Now, put a new track on it. I'll track it from just to the east of Helena. We'll take it on through Coahoma County because this is going to be impacting Quitman and Panola counties this evening. 644, it'll get into Coahoma. Then 652, Clarksdale, Sledge. That's coming your way at 706. Now, that's based on this storm moving at about 45 miles per hour. We'll see it move into Marks at 714, 720 into Senatobia. Sardis, 732. Batesville at 739, and then 751, that will move into Eureka Springs. So that gives you an idea. Let's go back and take a look at the big picture. Here's the whole line itself moving off to the east rapidly, making that push and more of an east-northeast movement with this entire system. But I want to zoom into Shelby County one more time. Eric, I think you've got to look at something, a track. Did you had hail? Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
so
looking at hail. Let me show you, let me get through this track quickly, all right?
Go
Let
for
me
it.
go back and then let's take a look at that one more time. That's coming on into play. And look, we're really starting to see the wind pick up. We can see it on spectrum width. That wind, we're close to the radar site. Tough to see right now, but there's that leading edge of the wind. We may get a better view of it on velocity. I also want to look and see if there's any wet microbursts that may be in there. Looks like there could be a little something that is just right here inside the 240 loop, maybe. Northern leg of the 240 loop, right there around Raleigh, Fraser. You could be dealing with a sudden strong wind right now. But for the most part, I think it's very heavy rain. There's also a lot of lightning in this, a tremendous amount of lightning. And just on this view right here, let's track the lightning strikes.
Hey, Ron, so you know,
Yeah.
we just got a new tornado warning that was
58.
issued for portions of Haywood and Crockett County.
Let's go back and check it out.
So this is in place until 7:30. The time now is about 6:40 on this Saturday evening, and it is moving itself to the east here at about 55 miles per hour. It's about 12 miles to the east of Ripley. So this is a new tornado warning that was just issued here that does include, as you can see, Ron showing right here on Doppler radar.
Take a look at it, Eric. Tell us what you're looking at.
Sure, absolutely. So this is a storm I've been kind of keeping an eye on here for the past little bit, and it was actually associated with the storm that has produced some hail in the far western side of Tipton County. Now, as far as what we have going on here for the strength of it, we've been talking about that tornado index here. It's at a 4.2 right now, but if you start seeing some of those blacks embedded, that means that there is at least potential some hail and maybe some rotation going on there. So what we have, this still looks, I think this might be a little bit more of a straight line, but it has some of that spin or some velocity within there that gives it a little bit of a spin for a tornado here. This is moving to the east-northeast at 45 miles per hour. As noted, it does include portions of Crockett County, as well as Haywood County and into Gibson County as well. Alamo, you're within this tornado warning. Friendship, this is including you as well, especially on the south side of town, and it is moving towards Trenton as well. So certainly something we are keeping an eye on here. There's nothing necessarily catching my eye from a shear side of things or from a rotation detector side of things, but there is at least some very strong winds and some very heavy rain that is embedded.
That you can get some storm info on that.
So
BTI's at 4.
Right, which when you see that being a 4, it's kind of a, hey, it has a possibility of spinning. And I will note, Ron, while you were going over your the last couple of storms, this had ramped up actually even up to a 6 here. So it's kind of fluctuating itself back and forth. And especially when you have this line of showers and storms moving through, you can have some pretty quick spin-ups here across the Mid-South.
And look, when we talk about BTI, that's Barron is the company that produces the Link system. It's the tornado indicator. So we're looking at the Barron tornado indicator, and it's basically a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest threat there's a tornado, 1 being the lowest threat. That's coming in at a 4.
Right.
At
wait, here you go. It just bumped to a 7.
Well, let's see it. Check it out. That's look, whenever we see it hit a 7, there's typically a tornado on the ground. I want everybody in that area to get to your safe place right now.
So yet again,
get to your storm shelter. Eric, can you move that info box up just a little bit? The time and temp bug's cutting that off just a little. I want to be able to see that BTI if we can. There we go.
So we got 2 of them that are right on top of each other.
Right, let's hit that red one and see if we can get, there we go. That's a 7. That's significant.
We're looking at this bottom number here.
Can you track it from the rotation itself? Let's go back and look at the velocity on that, see what it looks like.
So let me get a track on here. Let me clear some of this stuff off.
By the way, I hear, I'm not sure if that's rain or wind that's starting to come down right now.
Could be a combination of both.
Yeah. So I don't see anything significant right there, but that BTI is a 7.
Right, that'll get your attention.
Yeah, it certainly does. And that's right there around Friendship.
Yep. And that's scooting itself.
Tracking it off to what, 35, 40 miles per hour?
So the National Weather Service said that this is going about 45 miles per hour. Unfortunately, I zoomed in a little too much to see that pop up here. But if you're over towards Maury Junction, you're looking at about 5 minutes from now at 6:49. Crockett Mills at 6:52. Brazil at about 7:02. Gibson Wells, your time's about 7:04. Frog Jump at 7:07 and Edison at 7:11. And Ron, as that starts to move to the east, that does start to move out of the Mid-South. But hey, there's a lot of people around the Mid-South that do have family and friends that are outside of our viewing area here. So we definitely want to make sure you have that first alert so you know what's going on, even if it's just outside of the Mid-South. And if nothing else, Ron, this seems like it's trying to get a little bit of a bow to it, maybe with some of those stronger winds scooting itself to the east here. Putting this on a 30-minute loop, it definitely seems like it's trying to bow itself out, and at the absolute least, there is very heavy rain. So if you're in Alamo right now, you don't want to be traversing here on some of those roads, especially to the north on Highway 412 over towards Dyersburg. That was an area we were talking about earlier. Fortunately, your tornado warning was able to expire, but this is certainly the storm that we're keeping an eye on right now. If you notice that red polygon that is on your screen, that does include Alamo, Trenton, and over towards Humboldt, that is the one that has a tornado warning on it, and this is until, I believe it is 7:30 this evening. So this is not a great situation going on throughout that portion of the Mid-South.
All right, let me take a look. Let's come to the first alert Doppler radar.
Sure.
Let me do a little analysis on this, because that is an impressive area, and that bow echo that Eric was talking about. I'm going to zoom in a little tighter here, and there are a couple of little areas we're watching. So when we talk about a bow echo, all right, so we've got wind that's coming down from a loft, and then the whole movement of this system is pushing off to the east. Well, it creates a little bit of a bowing segment within the line itself. And then when that that air starts to push. It's almost like it's kind of punching in, and it forces this portion of the storm out a little farther ahead of the main line itself. But we have to keep an eye on what we call bookend vortices. So you get this little area right here at the top of that bow echo that can start to spin, and then there's the potential for it to start to spin down to the south. And as a matter of fact, you can almost see it right there. And as I put the scope on this, let's check out and see if we can see the velocity return with this. And oh yeah, look at that area right there. That's what I want to track right now. Let's put a track. Tell you what, I'm going to go to next rad, and we're going to track it from right here, and I'm going to follow all the way through that polygon. Maury City, 7 o'clock. We are seeing radar indicated rotation right here. No visual confirmation, but it's dark outside right now. Relatively rural area this is moving through, but these are some of the communities that this particular portion of that segment and that rotational portion could impact. So Maury City, 7 o'clock, Alamo, 7:06. Then we're going to see it get into Quincy at about 7:10. Brazil, 7:15. Humboldt, 7:25. Trenton, 7:26. And then it'll move into Medina at about 7:31. We'll see it get into Milan at about 7:35. Now look, oftentimes these come and go very quickly, but we're going to take it very seriously. I want you in the lowest portion of your home, away from exterior walls and windows. Let's put that scope back on there and see if that rotation is holding together. And yeah, pretty good little inflow notch that's right there. When we talk about an inflow notch, here's what we mean. So you've got air that's kind of coming in and feeding into this. Then as this is moving off to the east, it just kind of starts to spin a little bit. And then you've got this portion of the storm north of it that's starting to move out ahead of that little area. So you've got all this activity going on right here, and you can really get some major issues with this as it moves on through. So right now, we've still got the tornado warning. That's going to remain in effect until, what was that, 7:30. So 7:30 for Carroll, Crockett, and Gibson counties. And right now, that's over northern Haywood County. That is going to continue to move off to the north and to the east. Let me check out debris and see if we're seeing anything on that. Oh, I am starting to see a little activity. I'm not seeing that typical, just really textbook debris signature, but I can tell you what this is likely doing. It's kicking a lot of leaves, small things into the atmosphere as that wind is coming on through. So keep in mind, again, strong wind just really starting to push on through there. That main segment starting to bow out a little bit, and where it's just kind of lost and wondering, okay, where do I go? It's just spinning right there. That could be a big issue. Eric, do you see anything else on there that you're watching? Or you're looking at Shelby County right now. Let's check it out.
You know, honestly, Ron, it's just there's so many little things that are going on here.
Yeah.
Every single time that you turn around and look down for a couple of minutes, all of a sudden there's something new popping up here. Do want to point out here that as far as the watch goes here, and I know we're talking about the tornado warning right now, but as far as that tornado watch goes here throughout the Mid-South, there are portions of the Mid-South that have been able to be dropped here. So taking a step out here as far as what we have across the Mid-South, the good news is that we are starting to see fewer watches and warnings in place as far as the tornado watch is concerned. So pretty much all throughout northeastern Arkansas, you are free of the tornado watch, which is obviously great news. There are a couple of counties that are further to the south here outside of the Action News 5 viewing area that aren't included. But if you're within western Tennessee, if you're in northern Mississippi, this is still in play until 10 o'clock this evening, the time now being 6:49. That is definitely something to point out here. But Ron, we just started getting some pretty heavy rain here at the station.
Give me the high five camera. Take a look at Midtown. This is our Best Care Home Services camera in Midtown. Jayla, pop that up and let's take a look because it is hard to even see outside. Can you see the Midtown camera? There we go.
There you go.
Check this out. It's coming down pretty heavy. We had an impressive lightning display just moments ago. A little bit of a lull in the activity right now, but a lot of very heavy rain. There you go. Now you see it. Let's check out the downtown camera. Let me show you that and give you an idea of what's going on there. Again, there's that main line of storms pushing now just across the Mississippi River. The bridge is there somewhere. I see some lights, but there's a lot of rain. The pool there at Mud Island right now, that's going to get a good dousing. Let's go back to our first alert Doppler radar because, as Eric pointed out, the tornado watch itself has expired for a good portion of eastern Arkansas. But now we're transitioning to the potential for flooding. An already saturated ground, we've got very heavy rain coming through there, and your tornado and severe weather threat has now come to an end, really along and west of the Mississippi River, north of I-40. But the potential for flooding and flash flooding is now increasing with that heavier wind coming in, or the heavier rain coming in behind it. So we're going to watch that very closely. If you're home, you were planning to head out tonight, stay where you are. Just ride it out. Let's let these storms pass on through. Take a Saturday night at home and stay. Folks in northern Mississippi, I know nothing's going on right now. You get into Fayette, Hardeman, McNairy counties, nothing's going on. Maybe you're thinking about getting out. I encourage you to stay home because this is coming. And from now, here we are at 6:51 till about 10, 11 o'clock tonight, this is going to continue to push to the east. And the last thing you want to do is be out and about away from your home when these strong to severe storms are coming. And look, there's still a lot of instability that's in place around northern Mississippi and even south of the 40 loop into parts of West Tennessee. Things are starting to stabilize a little more just to our north, but look, we've still got a lot of activity that's up there, even just to the east of Dyersburg, Gibson County. You're starting to see the heavier rainfall move in there, and check out the lightning display just on this, and we've still got the tornado warning that's in effect as well. I want to take a look at the scope. Let's see if we still continue to see anything in the way of rotation. We're getting a pretty good distance from the radar site itself, 53 strikes of lightning in there. I see a little something right here. You see that? And we're looking for red and green coming together. We talk about that all the time. We've got winds moving away from the radar toward the radar, but that little area right there, I've got a red circle drawn around it, but that's where we've got red and green. Here's what I think is happening. We've got wind coming down from the upper levels of the atmosphere, and it's just hitting the ground, and it's just spreading out. That is a wet microburst that's likely taking place right now, and that can do some significant damage, taking down power, telephone poles, power lines. It can also take down trees and even do roof damage as well. So we're going to watch that very closely, but we still, again, have the tornado watch, or tornado warning that remains in effect there until 7:30 this evening. So tornado warning there, again, for Carroll, Crockett, Gibson counties. Just to the south of that, we've got Haywood County and Crockett County also under a severe thunderstorm warning. Lauderdale and Madison County, you're under this warning. And then just to the south of that, Memphis and Shelby County now under a severe thunderstorm warning as well. This severe thunderstorm warning is going to expire at 7:15, but it would not surprise me in the least bit to see this extended out farther east to encompass more of eastern Shelby County and Fayette County, because look, that line is coming your way and it's going to get there. Let's give you an idea on timing. Let's put a fresh track on here because this will be impacting Fayette County. It's going to impact Hardeman County. We'll move into South Haven at about 6:59, so you're just about 6 minutes away. You're under severe thunderstorm warning right now, South Haven. Heavy rain, gusting wind, intense lightning. That's the big concern. Germantown, 7:03. Snowden Grove, 7:10. It'll move into Collierville at 7:24. Somerville, 7:30. Then into Whiteville at 7:43. We'll see it get into Moscow right around 7:50, and then into Tune at 7:58. Looking for hail in here? Don't see a lot. Really don't. There may be some small hail in it, but I really think it's a very heavy rainmaker. And as a matter of fact, just taking a look at the rainfall rates associated with this, check it out. It's coming down at 2.3 inches per hour. In other words, if that sat on top of your home for an hour, you'd get close to 2.5 inches of rain. We've got even higher amounts in a few locations associated with that, but that whole line is packing a punch with the heaviest precipitation mainly moving through Shelby County right now at close to 3 inches per hour. Can we go back and take another look at the camera, our Best Care Home Services camera from Midtown, Jayla? Can you give me that one, because it's looking pretty impressive right now. I'm going to check in with Kelly Cook in just a moment as well, and we'll find out more about power outages. I want to take a look at the camera first, and then we'll have Kelly talk more about what's going on there. So this is a look at Midtown. It's raining. We got a pretty good wind. I'm going to check that out in a moment in our weather sensor here, but that's a view in Midtown. Let's look at the east. Whoa, there was a lightning strike indeed. Do we have the East Memphis camera? Can you pop that up? And I know I'm asking for these. Sometimes it's very difficult to make these changes quickly, but I want to see the East Memphis camera. Hey. And I think they're trying to bring it. There we go.
Hey, Ron
That's
Childers.
East Memphis. What do you got, Eric?
I was about to say, I got the East Memphis camera ready for you here, and you can see it shaking around here pretty good. Obviously, there are some cars out there on the road, but certainly the heavy rain and the lightning we've been talking about here for about the better part of an hour now at this point certainly has engulfed a lot of Shelby County. So as to what we still have going on here, if you're just tuning in, we still do have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings and a tornado warning that is in play here across the Mid-South. The good news is, Ron, and I know you'll be the first one to agree with this, all these have been radar indicated. We haven't had anything confirmed on the ground, so there is great news.
No damage. We've had no reports of damage anywhere. Melissa, do you have anything for me? Okay, I'll get that to you in just a second, but right now, no confirmed damage. We're dealing mainly with wind. There have been no confirmed tornadoes, but a lot of heavy rain, and we may be now pivoting to a flash flooding situation as this heavy rain is coming down quickly. Is Garner Montgomery still out in the storm tracker? The Comfort Dynamics storm tracker? I want to check in with him quickly, but first, let's go to Kelly Cook and talk now about power outages and what's happening as this system's coming through. And Kelly, I think we're going to see power go out from west to east through Shelby County. What do you got for us?
Well, you know, I can hear right here at 1960 Union Avenue, the rain, the thunder, and the lightning happening right now. So, yes, we are dealing with power outages. Here's the good news in all of this is at one point we were at about 4,000 people under the MLGW that did not have power. That number has dropped significantly. That could change. Let's take a look at that map right now. As we speak right now, we've got about 1,800 or so customers that are without power. We've got 27 outages as well. You can take a look there at some of the red spots and areas of concern. For a while, it was Fraser and the Whitehaven area that was dealing with a lot of outages as well. If you do have a power outage, it's important to note, don't make any assumptions. Call it in just to be on the safe side. That number is 901-544-6500. As our meteorologists have been telling us all evening, we are expecting this rain for at least a couple more hours, right, guys? So we are suspecting that maybe that number might go up. So keep that number handy, 901-544-6500. I think our producers have some pictures and video that we can show you. Wow, look at that. That is in Tipton County. Big thank you to Hunter May who sent that in to us. You can see the dark clouds that's coming in over his area there in Tipton County. Thank you, Hunter, for sending that in to us. We've got one more picture that is coming in as well. Oh boy, you guys are really photographers out there. You can see there the dark skies just as the sun is probably coming down. The clouds over, that's also in Tipton County as well. And we also have some video there in Midtown. We kept hearing the rain pounding on our roof, and this is why, because this is what it looks like. That's our flag right outside of 1960 Union Avenue, whipping in the wind there as a heavy downpour is happening right now. What I don't like is seeing how fast folks are driving there on Union Avenue. Please slow down in these wet conditions. It is so easy to hydroplane out there, 35 miles per hour or less. Keep those pictures and videos coming to us. Let's get a check now of what's happening outside. Ron Childers, what are you seeing?
All right, I tell you what, Kelly, we've got the tornado watch that remains for West Tennessee and for northern Mississippi. That's going to go until 10 o'clock tonight. First alert Doppler radar, severe thunderstorm warning right now Just to the north for Haywood County, Crockett County, Shelby County still under a warning until 7:30. We're going to take you to NBC programming right now. It's the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special, and it starts right now. All right, so we are now on our digital platform, and I tell you what, will you take program out of my ear, Jayla? We're just going to continue to track this now and remain with you. So you can double screen it. You can watch the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special, and you can track storms with us right here on our digital platforms. We are on Facebook, we are on the Action News 5, First Alert Weather app, and News app, and you can also find us on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV apps as well. So we're still dealing with one severe thunderstorm warning now. That's for Shelby County. That's going to remain in place until 7:30 this evening. Then we have the active tornado warning. That is just to our north. That is for Crockett, Carroll, and Gibson counties. That goes until 7:30 this evening. But the main concern right now is the potential for very heavy rain and the potential for some strong winds coming into play, which in turn could create some significant damage. I want to go over to meteorologist Eric Brill. You've got a track on some of these, Eric. What are you looking at?
So just looking at some different things from the National Weather Service and people just interacting there, whether it be law enforcement personnel and just the National Weather Service members. It looks like over into Dyer County, that is where there is some larger hail right now. And actually, they just issued a severe thunderstorm warning that does include portions of Dyer County for the potential of 1-inch size hail or 60 mile-per-hour winds here into Dyer County. This given storm, it is moving itself to the northeast here, or it's moving to the east at 65 miles per hour. So as far as some different areas that are within here, it does include Dyer as well as Trenton as well as Bradford into Dyer County itself as well as Gibson County. So if you know anybody that's a little bit closer to Kentucky Lake, good idea to give them a first alert, let them know, and hopefully they are aware that we do have some of those strong to severe storms that are on the way. And we still do have that tornado warning that is in place here for portions of Crockett County over to Gibson County as well as Carroll counties. That is until 7:30 this evening. Now, you've heard us talking about the BTI, or the Barron Tornado Index, and that gives us an idea if we do have some of that rotation and potentially a tornado on the ground. Now, the number here that you do see that I want you to keep an eye on, it's that 4.9. That's an indication out of a scale of, I believe it's 0 to 10, and once you start seeing that number climb above 6, that is when we really could see some tornadic activity occurring. For the time being, this is a 4.9, but there is some hail embedded, and the possibility is there to see some quarter-sized hail at about a 60% chance. A little bit further to the south, because we do have a severe thunderstorm warning that does include Memphis, or the majority of Shelby County, as well as portions of Fayette County and Tipton County, as well as far southwestern portions of Haywood County and DeSoto County. A lot of counties that are embedded within this severe thunderstorm warning, and that is due to the potential of 60 mile-per-hour winds or inch-size hail, which is the size of a quarter here. So that is something we are monitoring here across the Mid-South. So Ron Childers, obviously, just over the past about hour and a half or so, the activity did pick itself up quite a bit. We have seen some very strong winds around. We've seen certainly heavy rain here at the station, and at times there has been some small hail. As noted, we did get that report over into Dyersburg, where there has been quarter-sized hail, and into far western portions of Tipton County, where there was 1.75-inch sized hail there. So certainly some pretty big hail across the Mid-South, and we're seeing some pretty heavy rain here at Action News 5.
It's going to be interesting to see if that hail even verifies. I think mainly, I think heavy rain may have actually come into play and skewed that to some degree, but I've not seen any pictures or video of any hail so far, but it has certainly showed up on the First Alert Doppler radar. But a couple of areas I'm watching right now, new tornado warning. This was just issued. I tell you what, let me zoom in over here because it's in the northern portion of West Tennessee. It is just outside our coverage area, but there is a new tornado warning right now. That's for Benton, Carroll, Henry, and Weakley counties. And now that we've extended to our digital platforms, we're covering more of West Tennessee, northern Mississippi, and even eastern Arkansas. And speaking of eastern Arkansas, you're in good shape right now because really all of eastern Arkansas, from the Mississippi River, I'd say, all the way down to about Lee County, in good shape dealing with rain. But there's an area that is just to the south that may impact Phillips and possibly Coahoma County. We've got a tornado warning that's in place there right now. And as a matter of fact, let me put a track on this and give you an idea. This is for Arkansas, Deshay, Drew, and Lincoln counties. Again, just outside our coverage area, but this storm itself is moving off to the north and east, and it has the potential to move on into possibly Phillips County or Coahoma County. Now, these are a few of the communities that are going to be impacted by this within the next, from now until about 8:15, so over the next hour and 15 minutes. But it could come into just to the south of, Helena, and possibly even impact Clarksdale, as it's definitely moving in that direction right now. It has been, let me zoom back out quickly, and then I'm going to put a track on this whole line itself. Let's put this into motion. I want to show you loop through and watch this push to the east. So this portion of the storm right here, that's what we're watching. And then as it's ejecting north and east, it could make its way into the area and push into, and it's definitely moving in that direction, but it is possible, quite likely, that we see this, whoops, let me see here, there we go. We see that begin to expand and impact Coahoma County and possibly Phillips County. I think for the most part, the heaviest of it's going to stay away from them, but at the same time, we have to watch this closely because as I was talking earlier, there's still a lot of instability in play in this area right here. So that could create some big problems for us as that gets into Quitman County, Panola, and possibly even into Tate County. Right now, we're in pretty good shape for Coahoma County. I don't see any active warnings there. They're all just to the south and west. A lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain coming down in there. And as a matter of fact, rainfall rates with this system just even around Helena, West Helena, it's looking like it's dropping just over an inch per hour, and around Clarksdale coming down, or just to the north of Helena, coming down at around an inch per hour, just to the west of Clarksdale, just under 3/4 of an inch per hour. So very heavy rainfall there. Again, a look at the big picture here as we zoom out, put this entire line into motion. Still going to be a long night for folks in northern Mississippi. We've still got to get this line through. We can't rule out the potential for additional tornado or severe thunderstorm warnings, but right now we're dealing primarily with very heavy rain and some intense lightning. And let me just give you an idea of how much lightning is in this line itself. I'm going to track it all the way through. We've got a lot, 381 strikes of lightning in there right now. So that's the line itself moving off to the east. Eric, anything on this line catching your eye?
I will say not particularly. It looks like the National Weather Service are going to turn around and actually drop this severe thunderstorm warning. They noted for Shelby County, so can't 100% say sure it's going to be for all, 6 counties that are within there. But the bulk of that warning is within Shelby County, so that is still something we're keeping an eye on here because at the least there's a lot of heavy rain and strong winds, a lot of lightning embedded within this. But Ron, I do think as you were talking about here, those thunderstorms, those warnings that are down to East Central Arkansas right now, those are the ones to really keep an eye on here across the Mid-South and especially closer to the Mississippi Delta. So if you are over towards Clarksdale, if you're along 278 here from Clarksdale to Batesville, Oxford, over into Tupelo, and it really hasn't been too bad up to this point of the evening, but those showers and storms are jogging from the west to the east here across the Mid-South and into the Mississippi Delta. So that is certainly something that we are keeping an eye on here around the Mid-South with some of those heavier showers and storms that are embedded. I did get a report here, and actually, Ron, you're talking about that hail threat. If you do come back over here, there was actually some change in this direction. There was a picture that did have some hail next to a quarter, and it was largely not of a quarter, and that was that given cell that just to the western side of Tipton County.
Okay.
So,
all right. So they did get some big hail in there. Do you have can you take a look at the Barron button? Let's look at that line itself, and let's see what's in there right now.
Sure, the one that's further to the south here. Let's see.
Let's take links full, and let's take a look at that and show where the potential for hail may be. And wow, right there around, look at that. You can take the tracks off of there. You can clear those out, and just look at the Barron button itself. And I do believe if you do a pixel query on that, you'll be able to see what the hail size may be.
Yep, there we go for the dime size.
Dime size hail, quarter size hail. That's near Millington, right?
Yep, in the far northeastern
right
portion.
Millington.
Yeah, Arlington, Lakeland, all those areas into northeastern Shelby County. And don't forget, too, so obviously it is the weekend. A lot of people will be traversing here around the Mid-South in general. If you know anybody that's traveling from Jackson over to Memphis, or somebody coming from Nashville, maybe they were out there for the day and they're headed back on I-40, they're going to be driving into, even if it's not a severe thunderstorm, at least one that's going to have some very heavy rain embedded within it here. One thing I know Ron likes to talk about here, it's always a great thing to keep an eye on. You see where it says top towards the center of your screen, but towards just below it, where it says top, and it's got 28,600 feet. So that means that this storm is about 30,000 feet tall. And once you start seeing those storms having taller cloud tops to them, that's when you start seeing some of that heaviest rain, some of that hail that can be embedded within there. So I don't think it really comes as too much of a surprise, Ron, that we are seeing potentially some change size hail, as I like to call it here, moving through the Mid-South and starting to move from Shelby County into Fayette County and even into the far eastern corner of Tipton and to the far western corner of Haywood County. So traveling along I-40 right now, especially near Blue Oval City, probably not the best of conditions right now.
So basically becoming a rainmaker right now, good news there, but we still have the tornado watch in effect, and it is for West Tennessee, northern Mississippi. This is going to go until 10 o'clock. Now, Coahoma County, Lee County, you're not included in this, but you are surrounded by tornado watches, and there's some activity to your south, so you're not out of the woods just yet. But I do believe all areas north of I-40 in eastern Arkansas, you're in the clear just dealing with rain, but now you've transitioned from a severe weather threat to the potential for flash flooding, especially in some of the lower lying areas. So be very, very careful. Still have 2 active tornado warnings within the coverage area itself. Let me give you that, really just one, and it's this one right here. That is coming in for Carroll, Crockett, and Gibson County. So Crockett County, Gibson County, just outside our coverage area, but you're under that tornado warning there, and that's going to go until 7:30. We've got another one right now, and I tell you what, let me bring this map down a little bit, and let's take a better look at that. Look at this. The focus now starting to shift into western Kentucky, but tornado warning here, that is for Benton, Carroll, Henry, and Weakley County. Then the one that is just to the south of that, that goes until 7:30. That's for Carroll, Crockett, and Gibson counties. But as we take a closer look at what's going on in and around the rest of the area, this whole line is really starting to pick up some speed, make that push to the east. Tell you what I want to do is now, I'm going to come in here. Let's take a look at, I'll tell you what, I'll just go back to the home view, and then let's draw a track on just this whole line, and I'll track it from just to the east of Dyer County. And what I'm going to do is kind of give a first alert to our entire coverage area for the movement of this line. So Summerville, 742. Here you are right now. It's coming down heavy in Memphis and Shelby County, Summerville, and that's moving in your direction. So 742, it's going to get there in just about 30 minutes. We'll see it get into Jackson at about 7:59, Oxford 8:39, and then into Corinth at about 9:07. So Corinth, you've still got a couple of hours before this moves in your direction. You are not under the tornado watch, but there could still be some strong winds. Damaging wind could accompany this. Then it'll move into Dixon at 9:29. It'll get into Nashville about 9:15, Franklin 9:20, Murfreesboro 9:12. So that will then become a problem for parts of Middle Tennessee. But as far as other areas go, and let me clear this off and I'll track it more specifically for northern Mississippi. Tell you what, let me pan here, and then I'm going to zoom in just a little tighter on this area, and let's just kind of come in here, take a look at this. Here we go, and I'm going to track it from the Mississippi-Tennessee state line. It's going to be a long track itself, but I want to give a first alert to as many communities as we possibly can as that moves off to the east. So Senatobia, 722. Get ready for some heavy rain, gusty wind, thunder, and lightning. Holly Springs, that's going to come in at 7:56. 8:15 into Potts Camp, then into 8:25 into Oxford. We'll see it get into Corinth at about 9:02. So it's been pretty consistent with the line coming into Corinth right around 9 o'clock. I believe this whole system is going to be gone by about 11 o'clock tonight. Boonville, we'll see it get into you at about 9:17, then coming into Tupelo at 9:38, and should be into Fulton right around 10:10. More specifically for parts of West Tennessee, let's come in here. I'm going to zoom in. Tell you what I want to do is zoom into Shelby County, and let's take a closer look at what's headed towards Fayette County and especially into Hardeman County. So let me clear this out. We will draw a track here that will go from right around, we'll track it from I-40, all right, to the east. And that's a general movement of the storm itself, or that whole line is off to the east. Collierville, 719, 728, it will move into Somerville. We're going to see it move into Whiteville at about 740, 755 into Bolivar. Then Grand Junction at 803, 815 into Henderson, 830. It will move into Bethel Springs, and then 8:39, it's going to move into Selmer. So these are some of the communities that are going to be impacted by this portion of the storm. That's south of I-40 off to the east. That's what this portion of the storm is going to do. And right now it's bringing with it, I don't see anything in the way of significant hail, at least on this view. I may need to tweak that view just a little bit. But the main concern with this is really going to be with wind. You can almost see that well-defined line of wind that is coming through right now. We've also got flood warnings that are in effect for the area as a result of the flooding that is taking place and coming on through there. Now, as we take a look at the rainfall rates, look at this. Just now starting to make its way into, looks like it's near Mason, Tennessee, about just under 2.5 inches per hour. Then we see eastern Shelby County, right there around Eads, almost 2 inches per hour. And just to the west of Collierville, it's coming down at close to 3 inches per hour. So a lot of activity there. Eric, you're looking at the hail tracker or the just storm characteristics. Let's take a look at what you're seeing.
RC, I've been bouncing back and forth while you're kind of looking at a bunch of different things here across the Mid-South. And really, as far as what we have going on here with the radar, Ron's been talking about it here as far as the heaviest rain moving itself through Shelby County right now. And we still do have that tornado watch that is in place here all throughout the western Tennessee corridor and into northern Mississippi. So even though as of this very moment, we don't necessarily have too many tornado warnings or severe thunderstorm warnings here across the Mid-South, there still is a portion of Crockett County that is under that tornado warning. So you're first alerted to Crockett County if you know anybody traversing, really just throughout that given area. Good idea to give them a first alert on that. And if you know anybody that's a little bit closer to Kentucky Lake as well, there have been some pretty nasty showers and thunderstorms and some tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings within that part of the Mid-South. But as far as what we have going on for a wide view of things, it is worthwhile to point out here, especially if you are west of the Mississippi River, you're in much better shape than you were here about 2-3 hours ago, as that main line of showers and storms has moved itself through the area. Do want to point out, though, there was a flash flood warning that was issued here for a good portion of the Mid-South, and it did include parts of Shelby County, if not all of Shelby County here. Turn that back on. Here we go. A little bit closer into Shelby County. As far as the screen box should be popping up here. We have seen the rain rates here that have been, as Ron noted, about 1 to 3 inches per hour. If you have that falling overhead for half an hour, all of a sudden you're going to pick up a quick inch and a half of rain here before you do know it.
For Shelby County as a result.
Yep, and I don't think that surprises either one of us. And especially too, Ron, just over the past few days, we have seen a lot of rain here around the region. There we go. It's finally popping itself up. And that includes pretty much all Shelby County, or it does include all of Shelby County. That is in place until, I believe, is it 10 o'clock this evening? Let me double check that here before I go assuming. Let's see. That is until 10:15 this evening. So we still have good 3 hours to go before that flash flood warning is set to expire. You know the old adage, turn around, don't drown. If you come across an area that's notorious for flooding and ponding, especially if it's under a train trestle, how they kind of curve down there, and you know the drainage there can maybe back up at times, don't drive through that because that is certainly the last thing you want to do. And if nothing else, nobody wants to fill out paperwork. Let's call it what it is. But that main line of storms, it is cruising itself through Eads. I can't forget about Eads, as well as Oakland along Highway 64. Down to the south in Collierville, your first alert into Byhalia. That's where you are starting to see some of that heavier rain and likely some lightning and thunder in the distance move itself from the west to the east here. Hernando into the square, certainly a damp evening here into the Hernando Square. A little bit further to the south here, Senatobia, Como, throughout Panola County. The rain showers and thunderstorms haven't necessarily impacted you quite yet, but it is getting closer to you, and it is just off to your west as well. Tunica County, throughout Coahoma and Quitman counties, those areas are seeing some pretty heavy rain, and we are still keeping an eye into east central Arkansas, where there have been some severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings as well. These aren't necessarily within the mid-south, but they're not too far off here. You do see it includes Cleveland and just some of those counties that are just south of the mid-south here for Coahoma County. So certainly something we're keeping an eye on here. Ron, as you noted, that flash flood warning that is in play until 10:15 this evening, and we still do technically have that tornado warning that is in place for portions of Crockett County here. It does seem like that is starting to scoot itself out of the area, but as far as what we have going on here, we've been talking about the BTI, or the Barron Tornado Index. That has been kind of ramping itself up and down at times. Right now that is at a 3, so there is good news within that. This is the number that I'm looking at downtown down here. The hail size there, it looks like it's starting to shrink a little bit too. So Ron, the good news is it looks like as far as our tornado threat, it's still there. We still have that tornado watch in place until 10 o'clock this evening. But as far as those ones really catching our eye with some of those individual cells, it seems like that threat's going down. But there's a lot of heavy rain throughout the Mid-South.
Yes, indeed. I tell you what, we're going to, because the 2 tornado warnings are just outside our coverage area now, we're dealing basically with a flooding issue. I want you, if you were thinking about getting out and about tonight, stay home, because there's likely going to be flash flooding in and around the area as a result of the heavy rain, and mainly along that leading edge. So anybody who's east of Memphis and Shelby County, east of DeSoto County, east of Tunica County, stay in for the night. Just call it a night, hang out at home. This is coming your way. It's going to continue to move east. Right now, all the warnings are outside our coverage area. The only thing we're dealing with are flash flood warnings. That's a result of the very heavy rain. Eric, you mentioned some hail earlier. We did get a picture of some hail from Drummond's, Tennessee. Let's take a look. Jayla, if you can pop that up for me. Wow. I'd throw that in the freezer and keep it. You know, I would.
You know, Ron
I'd
Childers,
throw it in the freezer and keep it.
if you say you do it, I think I would too. I got to follow your lead on everything.
And spiky hail, that's an indication of the turbulence within the atmosphere. So it's falling, then it's dropping or getting lifted back up as a result of the updraft, falling again. But that is $half, silver dollar size hail on there. So we have, let's have some video. Let's see the Dyersburg flooding, because heavy rain came through there. I am happy to tell you we've got no reports of damage. We had no confirmed tornadoes, although we had about, 5, 6 tornado warnings, I do believe. They were all Doppler radar indicated, but look at that.
Well, and keep in mind,
that's the Kroger parking lot in Dyersburg.
And keep in mind, Ron, too, this is the same area as far as Dyersburg goes that saw all that heavier rain earlier this morning, and it extended into the afternoon hours. Fortunately, there was a little bit of a lull there as far as the time goes, but when you have 3 inches of rain that are able to fall in the matter of a few hours, it doesn't take really too much for any sort of rain beyond that to add itself up. And I know meteorologist Maggie McCauley and myself, we were talking about that earlier today, just as far as those areas that are further to the north, seeing some of those heaviest rain totals this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at the storm tracker. Garner Montgomery's out in the storm tracker this evening. Where is he, Darian? Can you tell us? This is South Haven, Mississippi. A lot of folks on the road out there. Not the greatest place to be, especially with that heavier precipitation that's coming on through there. And he's right there on Goodman Road. You can see what is now moving through DeSoto County here on my map, or on my radar map. But you can also see the activity and what that's translating into from a live camera from the Comfort Dynamics Storm Tracker. So that's what we are looking at there. I want to touch base with Kelly Cook quickly just before, because I tell you what, Kelly, we're going to wrap it up here. That's going to give us some time to regroup. Let me put it back on the home view here, show you what's going on. No active severe warnings. These are just outside the area. They're going to expire in about 6 minutes, but really power is the big concern. And oftentimes when we've got storms approaching, I get emails, text, whatever. Ron, are we going to lose power? Kelly Cook, tell us what's going on there.
It is unfortunate, but considering how much rain that we've been having right now and the high winds, we're not in such a bad situation right now. Let's take a look at the MLGW power outage map right now, and a little over 2,000. I know that for the folks who are without power, you're like, not so bad for who? I understand, but it could be a lot worse. We've got about 2,009 customers without power right now across the area. Of course, if you think you have a power outage and you're not seeing anything on that map saying when they're coming to fix it, they're going to be out there as soon as it's safe to do so. But please call 901-544-6500. I was seeing a little bit of some of those red spots, included some Midtown areas, Sam Cooper Boulevard. Needs to get some glasses there. Yeah. That's coming into the red there. So if you have a power outage, again, 901-544-6500. And if possible, if you're dealing with driving, you got to get out and about. I know our weather team has been saying it over and over again, but I can just reiterate because I know a lot of our crews who are out and looking for places to go. And this happened before, Ron, when we got that certain burst of rain and precipitation that was coming down. People kept getting stuck on the roads, and we were getting video of people getting pushed out of those low-lying areas. You see that? You see that lightning behind me there? So please be careful if you have to get out and drive, right, Ron?
Yeah, indeed, Kelly. Tell you what, there's the line right there. Kelly had the power outages for Memphis and Shelby County. Eric's got to look at the entire area. That's another one of the features of our link system. We're able to show you power outages all around the Mid-South and the nation. Eric, what are you looking at?
So, Ron, it doesn't really come as too much of a surprise that Shelby County does have the most power outages because that's the largest population center. But we never want to forget about some of those surrounding areas to the Mid-South that maybe don't get quite as much of attention, especially further to the south here into Coahoma County, where there are currently 800 customers without power, over into Wynn, that is over in Cross County, 200 customers without power. The same can be noted here as you head to the north in Lauderdale County and over into Tunica County. That's where there are 100 customers apiece there. So overall right now, as far as the power outages, hey, if you don't have it, great idea to have that WMC First Alert weather app ready to go because we are keeping it alive here at least for a couple more minutes. But the power outages, I wouldn't be surprised if these numbers go up since we still have that line of showers and storms scooting itself through the Mid-South, Ron. So we're kind of keeping an eye on things, but hey, right now we're doing okay.
We are. It's again more of a flooding event that is beginning to transpire. These two tornado warnings are going to expire at 7:30, so about 3 minutes left in that. No other active severe warnings, but flooding is now an issue. That's why I encourage you to stay home. We're going to continue to watch this and keep a close eye on northern Mississippi. You're faring well right now. I was concerned about Tunica, Coahoma, and even Quitman County as a result of temperatures getting into the mid-70s earlier today, but looks like the atmosphere is stabilizing a little bit and maybe some of that rain-cooled air starting to push in there and help to stabilize areas that are just to the east. But in the meantime, I think meteorologist Eric Brill and I are going to wrap it up with our live coverage here, and we're going to continue to monitor this. We'll be back on Action News 5 at 10 tonight with a recap on everything. We'll hear from our reporters out in the field. We'll talk more about the storms that have come through, and we're going to give you a first alert to some bitter cold that's coming our way. We're looking at overnight lows next week that will be in the teens, and there's the potential for some wintry weather coming in Tuesday night into Wednesday. We want to take a moment this evening and get a close look at that and check out the newest data. And of course, we'll bring you an update on it. But as we get to around 10, 11 o'clock tonight, this entire system should be out, but that rain's likely going to linger a little while. And again, the potential for flooding exists, but that whole line now making a rapid push to the east and scooting on out of the area. So we'll continue to watch it. We'll keep a close eye on North Mississippi and the rest of the Mid-South, Memphis and Shelby County. Even though it's still loud with some thunder, some lightning, and heavy rain, our severe weather threat has ended here in the city of Memphis and for areas along and west of the Mississippi River. But we'll continue to watch just to the east, and if the need be, we'll be back on the air, on the web, and on the First Alert Weather app. For meteorologist Eric Brill, for Kelly Cook, and the entire Action News 5 team, I'm meteorologist Ron Childers. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Taking action for you. Action News 5 starts now with a